possibly tell people that they can redeem some of the money in the CBDCs, for example, so they promote the circulation of the digital yuan. But I think this is the question which can only be really interpreted in the future. We don't know yet how it will be interconnected to the ongoing crisis nowadays.
I would try to make it short question. Just to understand, this is how we feel about the tools we use. Actually,
I don't hear so clearly, I'm sorry. Voucher. So your question is whether the problem is only in China or it's more general in terms of CBDCs? Is it correct?
Usually when you speak about digital currencies, about a lot of facilities, it talks about a lot of okay, I'm not in a position to really spread it more, but from your part, I wonder, is this central bank currency, e-currency, is actually a tool to control? Is this the idea, or is it too simple to say?
I think I made this point clear in my presentation, but maybe it wasn't the case. But yes, I do believe it's one of the tools that can be used for controlling the population in the most sophisticated way historically ever available for governments or central banks around the world. So yes, it is a surveillance and control mechanism for the authoritarianism regime. Yeah.
So on that note, do you have any more details on the type of information that is being collected? Because when you present CBDC, the Chinese yuan as the any other, you put it in line. I'm not very sure if it's the correct presentation of it, because it's not. The project is not the same as digital euro. Digital euro tool that is trying to replace the digital currencies as they are used now, getting it a little bit more under control, and so on and so forth. This is a very different project, even though it looks like it's from outside of the technology. So do we know, because I can write down what the information digital euro is going to look like. Do we have any type of overview or any idea what type of concrete information are going to be collected, and is going to be personalized, or is it more of a macro point of view and they're trying to see movement? Or do we have any type of idea what are they targeting as information? Because per se I don't care about the payment system tool, because it's not a payment system tool, even though they're trying to sell it in market. Obviously, show it as a technical tool just to bring away the focus on the fact that it's important.
Thank you for the question. So first, as I mentioned, the end goal is to get rid of cash completely. So there will be the only substitute of the CBDC or the digital yuan in this case. And in this regard, the Chinese government will see every single transaction going on in China and see where the money goes from, to which place, like through what channels, and for what purposes, where, and basically connected to all the stuff. So when you buy, for example, a book online, which might be deemed controversial or even like anti-regime, the government will see and it will maybe influence your social credit score, where you will immediately get some punishment for it. Now, when it comes to other CBDCs that I've maybe put online, with the digital yuan, maybe not rightfully so, but I really think that there shouldn't be device for the transactions, because even if it was the European Central Bank in Frankfurt or the Fed in the United States, I think like to say openly power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, and this is absolute power when it comes to monetary and financial ecosystem of the whole world. So yeah, but actually the digital euro is rather conservative. It's not so much promoted by the ECB, and I think we are maybe lagging behind China in this regard. But the digital euro, I think, should be like only complementary to the cash which would stay in the society. As long as that is the case, I think it might be helpful in some cases, for example, like the wholesale, like the business-to-business transactions, but not so much for retail, that all our transactions of like regular people would be controlled and managed by the government.
Okay, unless somebody really wants to ask something, I would like to cut it out and take a 10-minute break if possible, and then we continue with the first panel of the weekend. Thank you. Thank you, David. Hey.
race into the final set and a large glass of spring water, courtesy of, yeah, you guessed it, Lee Farmer, and this time teaming up with Lorenzo. If you haven't got that ticket link, it is Emergence Revival.eventbrite.ca. On Good, aka Great, Friday.
1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, guys, if you could take your seat, please. Sorry for the 30-minute delay against the original schedule, but we're trying to make the most time. This next part of the event is going to be our first panel. We call it Tibetans, Uyghurs, and Hong Kongers, the Forced Exiles. And on the panel will be Jigme Kirti-Tang, the president of the Tibetan Association of Czech Republic. Elmira Yapina, co-founder and chairperson of the NGO Kitab, which is the Turkic Association in Prague. And Loretta Lau, which is the director of the NGO Day, or No Day, which is the Hong Konger Exiles organization in Prague, and very much a co-organizer of this event, because I have to thank you and take this opportunity for very much getting all the audience here, and also like half the speakers, if not more. So, big clap. And we also have David Gardash, the previous speaker, as our in-house sinologist from Synopsis. Thank you. And it occurred to me that I didn't introduce myself at the start. I'm Mike Gill. I'm the head of the foreign department of the Czech Pirates Party. So first I'll probably give a short introduction about what we expect this panel to be. If it goes in some other direction, so be it. I don't really care. The point is to have here these three representatives of three different communities, the Tibetans, Uyghurs, and Hong Kongers. They're very similar, but yet also somewhat different situations, living in exile, and we'll hopefully talk about the development of their situation since they moved to Prague, what common issues they face in the Czech Republic, in the terms of identity, social support, attitudes, and the threats of the Chinese Communist Party, which is a topic that we spoke already before about the day. And we'll probably ask, maybe even answer a question, how the Czech government can assist people in such a situation of struggle for freedom and human rights. So I would like to give them a word, give them a microphone, and introduce themselves shortly, if you can, whoever wants to start first. That's cruel.
I don't know if it's fine if everybody seated. It's fine. Thank you so much for the invitation, especially Loretta, because she actually, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, she invited me to participate in this panel. I was quite surprised because I'm not a representative of Uyghur community, but I am a Tatar. And for those who doesn't know, Uyghurs are called Tatars of East Turkestan, or used to be called like this. We have here soldiers, probably, you know, some of this area. Anyways, I'm a co-founder and chairperson of NGO Kitab, which is Cultural Turkic Association in Prague. Uyghurs, as well as Tatars, as my nation, are being representative of Turkic community, which is wider community, along with Turkish people, Azerbaijani people, Kazakh people, Kyrgyz people, and all over, like 100 nationalities. But Uyghur community is quite a specific community because they're the ones who are outside of the post-Soviet countries region. First of all, second of all, they are most of 12 million Uyghurs are living in China. They have their own autonomy, or used to have their autonomy. And outside of Xinjiang region or east of Turkestan in China, most of Uyghurs are living in Central Asia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkey, and the other countries. Here, the main aims of our organization to represent Turkic communities in order to actually be kind of a soft power through the cultural events. And maybe this is quite the difference between these communities which are represented here. Maybe they are more politically active, but our organization is mostly covering the cultural events or educational events, and through this kind of soft power, we try to represent our community and fight with the fear of different nationalities or xenophobia here, and also Islamophobia. Most of Turkey communities are Muslims. You don't see it on me, but we also are Muslim. And most of the Uyghurs in China are Muslims as well. And this is also putting Uyghurs in a specific situation in China, because not just Uyghur autonomy in China is being disintegrated and being trying to be covered by the unitarian state, not just because of the geopolitical power, but also there is a discrimination based on the religious views. There is also main issues of violation of freedoms, violation of human rights, based also on the freedom of expression or religious freedom. I'll just say a couple of things. During 10 years, probably it's already 10 years, when 2012 we started doing our activity in order to share with people who are Tatars, who are Turkic people, because mostly Czech people don't know who we are and how we're connected and where do we belong. Do we have our language? Yes, we have our religion and history and tradition, and somehow it's really connected with Uyghurs. I just maybe interrupt myself and ask, do we have here Uyghurs? No. Okay. I expected it, because the same thing is, we are doing this 10 years, or over than 10 years, different cultural events, educational events, seminars, festivals, concerts, etc. But once, in 2018 in Napstamza, we were making a big festival of Turkic nations. There were sometimes 6 or 7 different Turkic nations. And the only person was there looking really weird. He was walking with a big flag of Uyghurstan, or Uyghurs flag, meter to meter, and he was walking like this, all around this territory of Napstamza Museum. I was asking him what he's representing. Is he Uyghur? He said, no, I'm Czech, but I'm standing for Uyghurs. And it was pretty touching feeling. I was really surprised and I was really amazed by, although we didn't have representative of Uyghur nations in our festival, but we had a representative of Czech community being so much touched by the situation that he came to proclaim the rights of Uyghurs. Just before why I'm here? I just want to justify my role here, so why I'm representing the Uyghur community. Within the project, our projects, during the pandemic crisis, I was making interviews with a representative of Uyghur communities living in the Czech Republic. If you're living in the Czech Republic, you probably know there's a city Tabor, and it's 1 hour from Prague. And in Tabor, there is Uyghur restaurant, which is a family restaurant. They're cooking Uyghur food. And by the way, they're Uyghurs, and they are actually Uyghurs from Central Asia, from Kazakhstan. Another person I was interviewing, we have actually on our webpage, on our YouTube channel, these interviews. Some of them they are translated in English also. And one of them in English about it was the representative of Uyghur region from China. She's a researcher. And I was interviewing more other people, and there were always 2 conditions to make conversations with the representative of Uyghur community. They were asking me, either I will not talk talk about the politics, and not ask anything about Uyghur situation, Uyghur issue, or I will not mention their names. Later on, I wrote a couple of articles interviewing more people, and yes, most of the names of the people were covered. Here is a colleague of David Kardash, Andrzej Klivish. He's quite famous in the academic sphere in the Czech Republic, and he's talking a lot about Uyghurs, not just in the academic sphere. He's talking for the public, and he is advocating the rights of Uyghur. And we have also introduced him within the project of Kitab. I'll talk about it later, but now I guess I will transfer the microphone to Loretta. It's kind of an introduction about myself and justification why I'm here.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me here and to deliver the humblest voice of a Hong Konger being in the Czech Republic. I'm Loretta, that I started to be here in 2018, and only because I came here for my master's degree, and I have never can imagine that I would be presenting like Hong Kongers community here in Prague. And I always share that Czech Republic and Prague actually is a miracle. That we had a very nice opportunity to cooperate with the Linha Foundation, and so we start to work with them for 1 year already to have Law Day, as Michael just mentioned, and here's like some of the friends of NGO Day, and also Simon is one of our supervisors. So I would like to actually talk about a little bit of my identity as a Hong Konger and my relationship with Hong Kong a little bit here. Because before I came here to Prague, that I hate Hong Kong and I hate my identity. It's because that I think Hong Kong is a place that is full of competition, full of hypocrisy, and full of people, so crowded. And I don't like to be in Hong Kong myself. And so I get rid of Hong Kong because of the education system. I was a teacher for 7 years there, working in art. And I came here and I be a student again. I start to learn about what is in the free world, the Western world, and in the Czech Republic. And it's also very shocking that I just found that I'd be very proud to be Hong Konger because I came here. The reason is that when I study in my university that I'm facing quite a lot of races and sexes. And then I was like, actually in Hong Kong, it's embracing this freedom, peace, and also democracy, and also rights for everybody. So that's, I think, here in the Czech Republic actually nourish a lot of freedom fighters. And later on, maybe I will talk a little bit about Václav and his quote. And that the most touching day was 12th of June 2019. That's the first time I'm seeing 200 millions of Hong Kong people, 2 millions of Hong Kong people marching on the streets. I'm sorry, it's a little related to my cats. And we're embracing our freedom and also rule of law, and peacefully defending our justice and judiciary system. And the 1st of July 2020, the national security law override our rule of law and undermined the basic law of Hong Kong. 2 years on, Already over 200 protesters, journalists, and politicians were arrested under the national security law, and thousands of them arrested of related acts. 58 civil society was dismissed. Over 130,000 of Hong Kongers and elites left Hong Kong because of the uncertainty of the future of Hong Kong, and we are not compatible with the new value of the new Hong Kong. The voices of Hong Kongers is now completely shut down, suppressed in Hong Kong. Under this background, as a Hong Konger in the Czech Republic, there is a calling for us to use the utmost of the resources to preserve the Hong Kong identities, not just the identities of a Hong Konger as an individual, but also the identity of Hong Kong as our homeland. Recently, the regime intensively attempted to rewrite the Hong Kong handover history and to erase the colonial memories. The Education Bureau modified the textbook and said that Hong Kong has not been a colony. To explain that Hong Kong was forcibly leased to the UK and under the colonial rule. In order to control the past, China then to control the future. This is actually why that I found it is very, very necessary for us to protect our special cultural background, our identity, our language, and as the overseas citizens, this is our right to do so. For 1 year already, the NGO Day have upheld the universal value, peace, freedom, social progress, equal rights, and human dignity, to connect people from different backgrounds and to strengthen the local communities. Since the war started, half of the NGO gallery that we turned it into the temporary Ukrainian shelter. We keen on to improve the society with flexible and creative way, and also to help the people in need. Although right now the value in NAGMA have been suspended due to our lack of running costs, this place was connecting people together, exchanging ideas and exhibiting our projects, physically gathering together. We are now looking for a new space and some funding to reopen the NGO, and in the meantime that we'll keep on our networking and to do work on our communicating jobs. Thank you.
Right, so this is my second part of today's participation in ThinkTwice Conference, but for those who came later, my name is David Gardash. I'm a member of the Synopsis Project, which analyzes Chinese influence across the world, but mainly in Europe and the Czech Republic, as well as what's going on in China in terms of politics, economics, and other aspects of society. And I was thinking of how to approach my role in this panel, and I was thinking about like two personal experiences, which can be extrapolated to two aspects, which the CCP and the Chinese government uses to oppress people, not just ethnic minorities, but I would say people in China in general, and these are securitization and ideology. So the first one, securitization. It means that the regime needs to be secured to hold the power tightly in its grip. For example, in Tibet, the place I like a lot, and I visited in 2015, and then later on led me to studies, Tibetan studies at Charles University. I realized two things. So first, when you arrive at the airport, you see fighter jets at the airport, which can be used immediately to, for example, be put forward against the Indian Air Force as kind of a buffer zone against another superpower, which is the Indian country. And also there was a lot of military, like the soldier troops that I saw. I thought that there's some kind of exercise or something special, but tour guide back then told me, no, it's just a normal reality with everyday here, so it's heavily militarized and securitized for the purposes of the control by the CCP. And the second one is ideology. Now, not only I saw the most military in China during my life in Tibet, but also I saw the most Chinese flags in Tibet. But you don't see the Tibetan flag in Tibet because it's banned. It's illegal to even show the national symbol, which is the national flag of Tibet. But you can see the Chinese flags all over the place, which very much represents the way Chinese government approaches how they push their presence, and they want to make everyone aware that the Beijing central government is fully present in all parts of China. And also, it's connected to the ideology aspect is how the Chinese government and its education works with the truth and the history of China. So I have another personal experience. When I was a student of Chinese studies, we had a subject focusing on Chinese history, a very recent one. And one of the students was a Chinese girl living and studying abroad. And we were discussing this protest in Tiananmen in 1989, what happened there, and where the consequences, killing at least hundreds of innocent students and people, if not thousands. And the teacher asked her, like, okay, so we have people from China here, so what do you think about it? Like, what have you studied, or what the teacher in China thought about this? And first she said, like, well, not much, I mean, not really, didn't go into it. So, at least kindly, briefly, could you tell us? Well, we didn't discuss it at all. I mean, we completely ignored, I would say, the most important milestone when it comes for the PRC achieving at least some kind of democracy in 1989, which succeeded, for example, in the Czech Republic, Germany, or Eastern Bloc, but unfortunately in China. And there's a book which pretty much represents very well this kind of this phenomenon. It's called People's Republic of Amnesia, which made people forget what is the history of the CCP. And it's definitely not just the economic miracle, but it has a lot of shady stuff which can be described as skeletons in the closet. CCP tries to hide not only again from the other countries and outside world, but even for their citizens. And with this rather brief introduction, I will pass my board. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions regarding this.
Good afternoon, everyone here. So, I had to think twice before I came here, because I have seen this Florida, and if you could participate, so I had to go. At one point, my global economy was and then another side, my commitment is you should do this. It's your responsibility. So I'm very happy here, and I would like to organize a fire event So, and especially you guys, I hope you are also here because even my mind was deep since you're here. So, and we could talk, I think, more discussion, it will be more like, very safe, like, if I introduce myself, my name is Jimmy Tenzin. They call me Jimmy. So usually my friends call Jimmy. So sometimes Czech parents pretty difficult to pronounce Jimmy, so they call Jimmy. So yeah, I just see nice. And I was born in India. My parents they came to this escape to India in 1959 when there was occupation, what's happening now in Ukraine. The same happened to them. So things are happening because of power, when we don't see reality, when we are lacking compassion and love, when these things more glorified, this is happening now. For example, what's happening? It's a tragedy, things are happening. And Tibet, it's like a country in prison. So people are living in fear. They cannot talk to foreigners. For them, it's very risky. If I talk to, for example, living in if I talk to, so if I talk to him, I will be kind of someone arrested and information happens. So you see how things are happening there. There were 159 Tibetan people were self-promotion to show the world things are not happening in the right direction. So, this is, if I come to identity issue, when I was going my family in India, I didn't have identity issues. I was going like a normal family with loving kindness, and my parents were talking about, the way of life in Tibet, so beautiful. You see how beautiful, and now I came to Czech Republic. Now I see identity issues very important. Identity issues not only just name identity. It's an issue of connecting with culture. The culture which gives you more comfort. So that, therefore we are challenging China. Challenging China doesn't mean that we are, killing them or fighting them or hitting them. We are challenging. We are saving culture, which is very, in this whole, it's very important. You can see how Tibetan culture is praised and Tibetan culture is respected. Because of culture, they will say, Tibet, I love Tibet. For example, when I go to even small villages, a very old lady, when they ask me, where are you from? Yeah, I've been living there almost 20 years, but my Czech is very, almost zero. So, I'm from Tibet. Oh, great. So, you see how kind the person, you see, it's a very special person, so you see, our nature people are very much, people who have this kind of quality, you don't have to convince them to love. You love whatever you so that's it's my identity or my culture. Thank you very much.
Thank you for those introductions. I feel like I have to just do a quick note on what David said about the Chinese education on Tiananmen. Sadly, I feel that if you ask the same question at Czech school kid about the 1989 Czech Republic, many would sadly tell you the same thing. They weren't taught that at all, because most history teachers sadly teach history chronologically. And for example, in the elementary school, we go to barely to the end of World War II, and in high school, we will get to World War II at all. Not to mention coming afterwards. So, yeah, we need a reform of education in this country, and probably not in this country. So the next question I would like to ask you, because some of you hinted on it, some didn't. I would like to hear something about your organizations in the Czech Republic, like what issues members of your organizations or of your communities face in this country, and if you have any problems that the government maybe can help with if it wanted to. Somebody wants to take this one?
I guess we the corporate organization, but now I was a slightly changed this association. As I mentioned, I treated Uyghurs outside the core areas of China as several generations. They have some generation in Central Asia or in Turkey. Most active Uyghurs, of course, if we hear about Uyghurs, they are in Western states, particularly in Germany, UK, USA. These are the countries where they have their institutions or organizations, like World Congress or Court Tribunal or some other organizations or affiliates of these organizations. And they're particularly their Uyghurs are active. If you look where most of the Uyghurs in Europe are living, we'll see that not many states, where, in particular these states where they feel themselves more secure or protected, especially Sweden, for example, one of the destinations of Uyghurs or Germany, which I mentioned. Anyways, from China, Uyghurs are moving to Turkey or through Turkey. Conscious ones, younger generation of Uyghurs, with whom I was communicating, with whom I was interviewing. Those who are traveling to the United States, anyways, they still have in their region, they have families, their relatives. So still there's a fear to say something about the situation of Uyghurs. Mention at least something. When I was having interviews, all of them were asking me, please don't ask me political questions, which I, of course, didn't ask. But anyways, we had communication about this, off the record, and all of them, even those whose families generations are living in Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan, they were mentioning that last time I went on a single weekend in Kazakhstan. My relatives in Xinjiang was arrested. So even though you have several generations like in different states, you still have bonds with this region, and still you are under threat that particularly your family will be arrested or is tortured. Sometimes it's a question if the human being is the less valuable thing in the world. Is the most, the cheapest workforce. Mentioning representation of Uyghurs in the Czech Republic, when we hear about Uyghurs in the Czech Republic, we hear it in connection with some academic event or political event when the Uyghurs, activists, Uyghurs are invited to the Czech Republic, basically from Germany or United States. Recently we were talking with Mrs. Roshan Abbas. I was invited also to Mumtaz restaurant, Uzbek restaurant, because it was also Uyghur and Uzbek cuisine in Prague. it's advertisement for you. I was not paid for this. But if you want to try something, you can go. So we had a communication with her, and she was mentioning once the Uyghur becomes active even in Western countries, still it is under threat. She got also threatened. Her sister was detained, arrested several times. In the end, she even, in cooperation with some production, made a documentary film in search of my sister. It's called. We were thinking to screen it today, but unfortunately, due to some administrative obstacles, change of the film. Anyways, so the film is even through the film, she raised awareness of the people what's happening, but still, it's not enough awareness. We're talking about Uyghurs, at least here in Czech Republic, since people, academic sphere are talking about this, it's talking about the especially Chinese communistic influence in the territory of Europe, of course. And because of this, we're talking about the human rights. But the major people don't know about Uyghurs at all. They don't see them daily, on a daily basis. If you don't see the person, you cannot sympathize with the person. If you don't know the nation, you cannot know what kind of problems they're going through. So over the world, there's the same situation. The first step, I believe, the first step to resolve any problem is not putting some ultimatums or threatening another nation for the sake of saving another nation. I believe the first step is to raise an awareness. What is happening, with whom is happening, do we want to happen it to these people or to us? Our human is quite human, but we are not paying attention to something which is not close to us. Last year there were fires all over the world, in Australia, in Siberia, USA, in Turkey, but people in Europe started finally thinking about the threat of the fires and ecological crisis only now, when Croatia and Czech Republic started burning. I'm not talking that we are not self-aware of what's happening, but I'm saying that not everyone knows what we know. So it is important to talk about it and raise the question. So since Uyghurs are not represented in Russia, for example, I'm from Russia, Uyghurs in Russia are about 4,000 to 5,000 people. And it's proclaimed, self-proclaimed Uyghurs. They have their community, their short cultures. But what we know about them is like a small amount of people. Some people never heard of Uyghurs. I was asking questions on the internet, what kind of support do we provide Russian citizens to Uyghurs? And many people answered, do we have Uyghurs here? They didn't even know who are Uyghurs, or do we have Uyghurs here? Because of the amount of people we are not aware of. Same situation in Uzbekistan, there are a lot of Uyghurs, but they are proclaiming themselves as Uzbeks. Either they're assimilated or they're feeling they're under threat to mention their real nationality. So it's happening in other states, especially is, of course, deteriorating with the problem of there being not treated well by the regimes. It's not so the regimes, all our countries are not, they're reluctant to give the person to speak up. Because even here in the Czech Republic, we were participating in the protest. Here we have a Muslim community representative here, and Slovak Muslim in the Czech Republic recently made protest in front of the Chinese embassy. How many Uyghurs were there in the protest? 0. Because the Muslims who are compassionate about the situation in Uyghur region, Xinjiang region, they were there. I don't blame them, no one can blame them, because we know what was happening of single picketing Uyghurs in Kazakhstan or even Turkey. No country, recent case of extradition of Uyghurs from Saudi Arabia or Arabic states, we were considering how is it possible Muslims should be killing each other and protecting each other, but anyways, they were extraditing it into China just because of the important human life is somewhere under the importance of the financial freedom or not freedom actually, finances, financial support. So I think if we talk about what can states help, probably to provide some security to some groups who are living here, to make sure that in case they will not be extradited, of course. If I'm not talking about extradition laws in the Czech Republic, it's quite different. There are a lot of pending cases, but there were some cases where Muslims were extradited to countries where they were not extradited political or military executions. So maybe to give the person safety, not just by the generous words, but also by the judicial actions. Thank you.
So recently, the NGO Day completed a survey among the Hong Kong community in the Czech Republic, and I would like to stress that the survey can only reveal the views of some of the Hong Kongers, but not everybody of us. In general, Hong Kong people living in the Czech Republic feel safe and welcome. However, the Hong Kong community, we are too small, and there are only 30 to 40 of us. So it is very difficult for us to seek for social support. Hereby, I would like to raise up 3 motions of how the Czech Republic might help with the Hong Konger situation. First motion, to recognize our identity in official documents, such as driving license, residence visas, marriage certificates, and related documents, including the national option on the website. Since 2020, for some reasons, the options of Hong Kong, HKG, has been removed. And we are forced to fill in China, CHN, as the country code. Changing our country code from HKG to CHN is a humiliation for Hong Konger, and it means that our identity has been removed. Hong Kong no longer exists. Recognizing Hong Konger in official documents is the first step to help us to maintain our identity. The second motion is to review the national security law and suspend the extradition law treaties. The national security laws came to worldwide criminal jurisdiction over overseas activism. This is sentencing by special judges to prosecute this new era of draconian, vague and broadly defined crimes. The new law opened up to possibility that those extradited will not receive a fair trial or may even be extradited to the mainland China. According to the EU Council conclusions from July 2020, many EU countries have already suspended this extradition agreement. Only Portugal and the Czech Republic remain the extradition treaties with Hong Kong. However, Existing human rights safeguards in current extradition agreement do not account for the way that the new legislation compromises with Hong Kong's independent judiciary. Since the national security law does not apply to just only Hong Konger and also to Czech people. To review the situation and suspend the current extradition treaties with Hong Kong is the responsibility for the Czech government to protect your own citizens. The third motion, to suspend the Confucius Institutes. As part of the propaganda system, the Confucius Institute, sponsored directly by the Chinese government, threatens the academic freedom of Western universities. The program has said that to decide to promote Chinese culture. However, a number of incidents in recent years have shown that they have allowed Chinese influence to permeate through established and respected institutions. Unlike many similar programs from different countries, such as the British Council or the Goethe Institute, the Confucius Institutes do not operate independently from the government. Hanban, the governing body of the Confucius Institute, is directly under the Chinese Ministry of Education. And it is bound by contract and must abide by the Chinese law, even they are located in the free countries. In the Czech Republic, the only remaining Confucius Institute is run by the University of Finance and Administration. It was founded that is supported by the Czech President Miloš Zeman. And with a controversial reputation, the Czech Republic Education Department should review this Confucius Institute and stop the Chinese influence to protect your academic freedom. Be retaining Hong Kong identity in official documents, denying the national security laws, suspending the extradition treaties, and disbanding the Confucius Institute. The Czech government will show that they uphold of the universal values and builds the foundations for progress with the Hong Kong community here. Thank you.
Before I give you the word as well, I just have to make a quick note on this because it felt kind of like a, not attack, I love you, but like a kind of attack against my party, which is absolutely deserved since we have the foreign minister of this country for half a year now, or a little bit more than that, and we did absolutely nothing about this, and we absolutely should, even though our power in this government and chamber of deputies is extremely limited, so we'll see. I hope. I tried to get him to speak at this conference, the foreign minister. Sadly, he wasn't available, but yeah, I'm definitely going to raise this topic at least inside our party, so it will get to him, because we'll definitely talk at least about the extradition treaty in the next panel, where Simon will be there, because the current foreign minister, then just a regular MP, was one of them we met when Simon was here last September, and he was very enthusiastic about getting rid of the extradition. So, fingers crossed. Okay.
Maybe very briefly, I've already touched upon the synopsis activities we conduct to analyze what China does internally and what influence and projects externally. And for this purpose, we of course cooperate with first people, either Uyghurs, Hong Kongers, or Tibetans, as well as Han Chinese that are not so accepted by the regime in Beijing. So what comes to my mind is Pavel's exhibition in Dogs Gallery going on till 28th of August, and visit the perception of the Han Chinese who kind of is maybe disloyal to the CCP regime, and he sees it in other perspective, and provides rather unique insight, artistic insight on what's going on in China nowadays, currently. And when it comes to government support, I don't think, well, funding is always nice, but I would say that more than that, the importance should go into education, which we already mentioned. And I think the China is becoming superpower, maybe already is, for better or worse. We definitely need more China experts who sees its growth in context and perspective, which is also the motive of synopsis. So definitely the government should support education into fields connected to either sinology, politology, geopolitics, stuff like that, so we can see what's behind the nice rhetorics of the CCP and the jargon, which is very often so far from truth as it can get to. So,
we, Czech Republic, we have only 6 living in Czech Republic, but there is a big supporter, from Czech Republic. So I think in Europe, I think I would say the biggest supporter in Czech Republic. There are like 59 members who are still in the support group. So and also they're doing great work for Hong Kong and for Uyghurs. So and I really appreciate their stand. So concerning my security, for example, there are Tibetan, in Czech Republic, they are living as a refugee status. I would say refugee status. We don't have refugee status because most of them have Indian kind of travel documents, which is kind of used as a passport. So, and there are also Tibetan who often check alien's passport, which is not really counted as a refugee status. It's more like a status. So, like I'm here as an Indian citizen. I'm Tibetan, but I obtained Indian citizenship. I'm living here like not as a refugee. So therefore, it's Tibetan identity is very complicated. In India, officially we are not accepted as a refugee. It's kind of we're accepted as a foreign guest. Okay, like a guest. So, because India didn't sign the Convention Treaty on Refugee in 1951 or 2, so therefore we have, the identification is only, invisible. Like when you see me, you don't see whether you are a refugee or not. But in our mind, we always. Refugee, we are refugees, we are exiled. So it gives, me or it gives us to satisfy, to get our, independent Tibet. So we see, if we stay out of China, it's impossible to have to complete freedom. Czech Republic, you can speak, say whatever you want. You can go even, any kind of form in Czech Republic. You could have that much freedom here. But, like for matter. Even even if you are like in your role, sometimes it's so difficult to not make to go with Tibetan people who just came from Tibet. Yeah, even you, because you don't want to make them problem. If I talk to them, I'm as a Tibetan resident, so like one point I'm kind of attached to all like activism. So in this sense, when you want to talk with them, it's not easy because you have to also think, their security. So so these things are always kind of we have to stay in the field, even in Europe. And sometimes it happens a few times to me, like bringing some guy from the field to around my home. So it makes me a little, strange and a little scary. Why, guys, go to my house. Let me show you. I asked, oh, you are here. So let's go for coffee. No, I just came here to show your house. I said, wow. And the guy left. So this is happened to me, and sometimes it happens, you receive phone call, and pretending you are a journalist. These things happen. And not only also my colleagues who is working with me. So, so it's a very, even you are living in a free country, still there is a kind of influences from the Chinese embassy. So, and also Loretta talked about Confucius Institute. It's very important. It should be banned in Czech Republic, in university. It shouldn't allow these things. I mean, it's very much propaganda kind of. They're using it as a propaganda tool. I mean, it's in America, many countries, these Confucius institutes were banned. So it's like illegal. So it's not allowed in many universities. So once it happened to also, my wife is going to, they're in university. There's some Chinese classes happening. So I said, I said, don't go. Be careful. These things are happening in America. So, and she went there once, and then later she didn't go. I think she thought about it. So this is, we have a problem, everywhere. So thank you very much.
Now we're slowly getting to the end, so if anybody had any questions for one of us, I'll go there.
If just a second, if I can just comment on
Sure.
what said already. As a lawyer, as a PhD international researcher, I should warn you about banning this or another propaganda channel, because because it is really dangerous. This is also another threat to the freedom of speech. However, it would maybe look for you incorrect, but closing one channel is not the solution. Instead, probably we should think about developing wider channel of the minorities of China.
So hi, thank you for this one. I would ask you, we're talking about refugees and human rights. So how come in the 20th century we divided refugees divided into ethnicities, race, religion, and color? Isn't that the same? Like there are all reasons why we don't deserve basic human rights to live in peace. Thank you.
Should I answer? Is it for me? Okay. Is it for me? Question? So,
Whoever wants.
I think it's it's quite a common thing that we are dividing each other for races and for religions, and that's how we can survive in the world. We need some drama, so we need some bad guys, and we and them. And in order to survive, we need to find some bad guys, but also good guys for tomorrow. And sometimes we have bad guys as Muslims, sometimes we have bad guys as Chinese. So this is really a big threat and danger because we should survive in the balance of the world. We should remember all the time that although we are different, but we should respect each other and keep the balance. Once we're talking now about the Chinese situation and autonomies and national minorities and the violation of human rights in China, we are talking China as something one, something unitary, but it's not true. I believe we're talking about Chinese people or high Chinese, and this is really risky to starting blaming all Chinese people, to create another level of racism and xenophobia, which is really dangerous in our world. So we need to balance. We need to protect the rights, but not, as I mentioned, not for the sake of blaming another nation or attacking another nation. Should be finding some balance.
It's not like I'm blaming someone or just hating someone. I'm not saying that Chinese are bad. It's just the decisions are not very good. You're just saying it's just a question of why this is happening. What's your point of view? Is your opinion? Thank you.
Oh, maybe I would only add that for these purposes, communication is the key when it comes to like intercultural and between countries communication. And again, maybe what I didn't stress out when it comes to education, we shouldn't really approach China as a unitary element or just one ethnicity country, but there is 56 officially recognized ethnic groups, but I would say hundreds of those more not so officially recognized by the Chinese government. So maybe promoting the specific and unique aspects of like Uyghur culture and Tibetan and whether like Hong Kong is its unique approach and points in the world. So all these should be again be seen in the context and perspective and not just like in the narrow point of field which is trying or being promoted by the CCP. So that's it for myself.
The problem, in this world, like everything, policy, politics, whatever, this corporate world, like businesses, industries, like it's very much like I would say kind of based on gossips, which is really fake, like making divisions, fractures. Chimpanzee, he likes, he looks for, status. They kind of create an area, and they don't allow other people to come. They don't allow other chimpanzees to come. So they make kind of order. So it kind of makes like a divisions. Therefore, we are very much like a victim of our kind of chimpanzee mind. You could call it like we have a human mind, chimpanzee mind, and there's a computer mind. Okay, we are using very much all the data collections, whatever information, all the gossips, all this chimpanzee mind is collecting this all, and it puts into the computer mind. And then, so therefore, you could see there's outrageous problems, divisions, hatred, according to laws, religions, these things. Like, we have to really use our human mind, which is, try to gain higher higher conscious. We are, you know, we are very much into this bubble thinking. For example, I mean, like if, for example, like the company, you know, who wants to sell some product, you know, buy this, you know, buy this. If you don't buy, it will happen. So it makes you buy. So this is, you know, I mean, they know, they see us as a chimpanzee. I'm not talking about the human evolution. So they see us as a chimpanzee. So they know how to gain money, power, because they know how to play with, how to gain with chimpanzee mind. So we are very much chimpanzee mind, and we are the human mind. That's the biggest problem. Like once you open your human mind, then you know you connect with people, you see people, you love people, empathy, compassion, love people. Now you will see, I mean, you know, when you talk about love, you know, like a man will think, oh, we can do like, and nice, and they think this is real love, but actually it's not. It's marketing love. It's, you know, this is marketing love. It's not real love. Real love is to see, to understand other, to see, you know, how you have empathy, love. Then the problem will be solved. So therefore we have to, you know, we are here because of human mind. You know, if you had this kind of like a bubbling mind or chimpanzee mind, we would not come here. I mean, still we have to see this. Coming here. So we have to like teach, we have to talk, we have to give ideas, you know, creative ideas, you know, understand, you know, love, trust. Then politics will go the right direction. Otherwise, you know, in this world, never-ending disaster will come. Thank you.
Thank you. Sadly, I have to slowly cut it out, so I give the last question to Simon. It's been quick.
I will be quick. My question would be to Mr. Jenny, the president of the Patent Association, because I'm pretty impressed about the exile politics of the patents, especially your group has the Central Patent Administration in the Masala. I'm so impressed because there's, you know, government building over there, and I see there's even judiciary, executive, even a legislature, parliament over there. So, and even they have lots of foreign offices. Even one is in London. I walked by, so it's so impressive. It looked like an embassy. What do you feel this kind of exile politics? How is it helpful to your association in Prague? And secondly, what do you think about the future of the patents, exiled patents? Because it might be no Dalai Lama anymore because he doesn't want to, you know, maybe appoint another for political reasons. So what do you feel about the future of exile politics of the patent? Because it would be really helpful to Hong Kong to see their future. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. I didn't get all your questions because it's very equal, you know, the sound. So anyway, what I understood, okay, if there's some a little bit missing, so you can just let me know. So yeah, Tibetan exile government, when Chinese occupation happened, it started happening in 1949, and the complete occupation happened in 1959. So since then, there were 150,000 during that time managed to get to India, to Aslan people live there and live there. They start from zero. You know, if my father used to say, they didn't have any like a pot for cooking, you know, the tea. So they started, you know, they start their life from zero. It was difficult. When I hear their like difficulty, you know, they sell tea, cup of tea, you know, and they have some. It's a kind of a game because it's a little and just so having this small tea stall and then selling, and they start living like this. Now, Tibetan exile, they're pretty much